And visual communication, I think, is enormously important in a truly global event like the Olympics. I mean, I can't think of any other event that's as all-inclusive, global, participatory as the Olympics. And because you're dealing with so many cultures, so many languages, that textual communication is great and is how it's translated into different languages. But obviously, it's nearly impossible to cover all the languages that are spoken, official, unofficial, and so on. But visual communication is truly the key to reach the greatest number of people. Like truly, it's what cinema claims to be, right? Mm-hmm. It's the language of, it's beyond language and whatever it is that, I forget what they say when you go to the movies and they play that, cinema movies are a global language. But in terms of graphic design, so you're really studying the foundation of history of how sports, and in this case, the Olympics, but really sports are communicated to the masses, right? It's absolutely fascinating. So we can, if you want to touch upon your collecting interest, your interest in collecting Olympic history and memorabilia and archives and documents, just a little.
On the part of history, you have to know that everything really started on modern graphic design in Tokyo 1964. The reason was, you have to imagine, for the first time, the Olympics were going to Asia, to Japan. And, Japanese is a language that people only speak in Japan and not other countries. So this case was really, and you have to say also, not many people speak English in Japan. So it was really a need to find a language that will work for everyone. And that's also the reason why the pictograms were invented, because the pictograms, they don't need a language, a written language. They need only symbols that will be understood by everyone. It doesn't matter what cultural background you have. So that was really a need, and it's now very common. Every Olympics have their pictograms, but you cannot express ideas in 10, 15 languages to touch half of the audience. That's impossible. So finally, English is the basic language for all the Olympics. Even French is part of it, and the national language also. But on that time, this was so new, and people, they found out this is absolutely a need to do this. And that's why pictograms were reduced to a basic language, and the Olympics were the platform where this was invented. So today it's very common, and everyone is doing this. So you find pictograms on every mobile phone or on every toilet or whatever, but this was invented at the Olympics. So before 1964, they had a kind of pictograms, but they were more illustrations, very complicated drawings, saying in paintings that this is, for example, something about athletics, but not very simple to understand it. So this was very amazing how a need become something normal after many years. And when I found out that about the history of all these things that are going to be developed or were developed in the past, I started to collect documents, design manuals, objects that proves this, how they changed. And this was also part of my knowledge, or became a part of my knowledge, to compare these things. So if, for example, if you see a daily program from Melbourne 56, Rome 1960, and Tokyo 64, and you compare this, you see exactly how the things were moving on and changing. So if you don't have this, it's difficult to see the changes. And that's why I thought it's so important, not because I wanted to have these objects just for fun, because I can study it and I can go deeper into this and understand better why, the reason why.